Welcome to Real Talk, Real Wellness with Alicia. I'm Alicia, a context-led women's holistic wellness practitioner, and this is where we speak about what it truly takes to feel well mentally, physically, and emotionally. Now, I know I've been away from the podcast for a little while, and that was very intentional. I've been deep in the middle of building something that needed my full attention. When I'm working on something properly, I like to give it the focus it deserves. I'll say a little bit about it more towards the end of the episode, so stick around. But what I wanted to come back to the podcast with was a conversation that I feel is important. At the moment, we are hearing more about hormones than ever before. Cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, insulin, thyroid. There are hormone reset plans, hormone-friendly workout supplement protocols designed to balance everything out. And in many ways, this is good. This is progress. For a long time, women's health concerns were brushed aside or misunderstood. And at least now the conversation is starting to happen. Yeah, it's happening. But there is a piece of the conversation that I feel, a part of the conversation that still feels incomplete. You know, we talk about hormones as if they exist in isolation, as if they are systems inside the body that simply need, adjusting. But hormones don't behave like that. Hormones are messengers. They are constantly responding to signals. They are interpreting what is happening inside and around the body and adjusting accordingly. And what they are responding to all the time is environment. When I say environment, I'm not only talking about chemicals or toxins. I'm talking about the wider conditions of a woman's life, such as her sleep, the light she wakes up to, her working hours, the emotional tone of her relationships, financial pressure, family responsibilities, the pace she's expected to live at, her sense of safety or lack of it. All of that is environment. From a biological perspective, this matters enormously. Our genes are not rigid instructions that run the same way regardless of circumstances. They respond to signals, stress levels, nutrition, inflammation, circadian rhythm, emotional state, connection with others. All of these influence how genes express themselves. So when we talk about balancing hormones without looking at the conditions those hormones are responding to, we're only seeing half of the picture. We're only seeing part of the picture. Take cortisol, for example. Cortisol often gets blamed for everything. However, cortisol actually follows a rhythm. It rises in the morning with the light and gradually declines throughout the day. It responds to demand. If a woman is going to sleep late under artificial light, waking up to an alarm before her body is ready, moving straight into emails or responsibility, drinking coffee before she has eaten, carrying the mental load of the day before, and just being everything before she has fully woken up. Cortisol isn't malfunctioning, it is responding to that. The same applies to insulin. If sleep is inconsistent, if meals are sort of rushed, stress is constant, and there is little time for recovery, blood sugar levels will reflect that. Blood sugar regulation will reflect that. Again, that's not failure. It's adaptation. It's your body adapting to what it is in. There's also a belief circulating that if we just find the right protocol, the right supplements, the right workout routine, the right hormone strategy, everything will fall into place magically. But the body does not operate in a neat compartments like that. If a woman is sleeping 5 interrupted hours a night and moving constantly between work demands and home responsibilities, carrying the emotional weight of multiple people, replying to messages late in the evening, and then trying to correct her cortisol with a capsule in the morning, we have to step back and look at the wider, bigger picture. The body is not confused, it is responding. You can introduce magnesium, adaptogens, high protein targets, structured training plans. All of these things can help. Yes, they can. But if your nervous system really feels settled, if rest feels inadequate, or feels like an indulgent rather than necessary, if there is a quiet pressure running through the background of daily life, hormones will reflect that. And often that pressure is not sort of big and loud and dramatic. It's not always a crisis. Sometimes it's the steady expectation to cope, to be capable, to manage everything. It's the commute that takes 2 hours out of your day, that shift work disrupting your natural rhythms. It's feeling slightly alone while appearing perfectly fine on the outside. It's living without ever quite exhaling. Physiologically, that isn't a weakness, that's a signal. If cortisol is adjusting to repeated demands, it's inflammation responding to stress load, it's gene expression shifting in response to environment over time. The body is translating lived experience. That's why I'm careful when women say my hormones are the problem. You know, testing has value. Clinical care absolutely has its place. Targeted treatments can be important. Science matters, but another question is often just as important. What are your hormones responding to? What time are you sleeping? Are you seeing natural light early in the day? Do you feel safe where you live and work? Are you constantly in output mode? Do you have genuine support around you? Those are endocrine questions. Women's bodies are particularly responsive to environmental signals. Historically, reproduction and survival depended on environmental stability. Not safe, no babies. Energy availability, safety, community, seasonal rhythms. The female endocrine system evolved to read those signals carefully. And that biology has not disappeared. So when we separate hormones from the conditions women are living in, frustration is almost inevitable. You can follow every food rule and still feel wired at night. You can exercise consistently, and sometimes that can make things worse, and still struggle with weight. You can take the recommended supplements and still feel off. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because environment sets the stage. And environment isn't only physical, it's emotional, it's relational, it's cultural. A woman moving through perimenopause while managing a demanding career and family responsibilities is operating in a very different condition to someone with flexible hours and minimal stress. The same hormone advice cannot work the same way for everyone. So when the surrounding conditions shift, hormones often follow. Morning light can stabilize the circadian rhythm. Consistent meals can support insulin sensitivity. Deep sleep allows the body to repair and regulate. Emotional safety reduces stress, reduces chronic stress. This is not me being dramatic, but they are powerful. These things are powerful. So before asking how to fix your hormones, it may be worth asking how to support the environment your body is responding to. That shift alone can change the conversation. So, before I finish, I mentioned earlier that I've been working behind the scenes. The project that I was talking about that's sort of taken my focus recently is the Women in Wellness Collective. It's a professional, standards-led platform for women working in the wellness space. My intention is to bring more clarity, structure, and accountability to the field. Many women are doing meaningful work and supporting other women, and I believe they deserve a thoughtful frameworks and professional support as well. I'll share more about that very soon, but for now, thank you for being here and listening. And as usual, if this episode interests you, please share, and I will see you next episode.